thank you. My name is Ryan Mears. I'm the Marion County Prosecutor, and appreciate everybody being here today. This is a difficult day for a lot of people in our community. Anytime you lose a young person, in particular a young person who had so much potential, it touches a lot of people. And I know there's a lot of people who are struggling right now with the loss of this life. But I think it's important to also point out that the criminal justice system can sometimes play a role in the grieving process and the healing process. And the beginning of that process begins today with the formal filing of the charges. We are filing charges against a 14-year-old because it is a 14-year-old. Indiana law does not allow us to identify this person by name. We can only refer to them as a 14-year-old. This 14-year-old is being charged with 1 count of murder, a felony, 1 count of felony murder, a felony, 1 count of armed robbery, a felony, and 1 count of dangerous possession of a firearm, a misdemeanor. Because the individual involved in this case is 14 years of age, this case has to be filed into juvenile court, meaning that the beginning of this process will begin in juvenile court. In addition to the charges that we have filed, we've also filed a petition to waive this case to adult court, meaning that a Marion County court judge will ultimately make the determination and the decision as to whether or not this individual should be tried as a juvenile in juvenile court or as an adult in adult court. And so we have initiated that process today. Because we're beginning this process in juvenile court, oftentimes in these situations, we're able to provide a probable cause affidavit. Today, we're not able to do that because this is in juvenile court. And until or unless this individual is waived to adult court, that would be the only time that we'd be able to provide the probable cause affidavit. Just a couple of notes about the investigation in this case. We are dealing with a 14-year-old who had never previously been arrested, who had never previously been charged with a crime, which sometimes presents challenges in the sense of we were trying to identify someone, and we did not have a known photograph. We did not have fingerprints. We certainly did not have DNA, and this was a case of just IMPD going out there and following up on every single investigative lead that they had to be able to be in a position to identify the person that we were ultimately able to charge and who was arrested on Wednesday. So I give a ton of credit to Chief Adams and his team for all the work that they put into this to be in a position to identify this individual. As I mentioned, this person had never been arrested or charged, and there was already, unfortunately, a lot of commentary on what this case represents and what this case means. And I think it's just, there were little or no facts available to people. Certainly nobody knew anything about the accused, including their age or their criminal history. Yet there was a lot of people who were very willing to assign blame to who was responsible for this incident. And the reality is we have a 14-year-old who has never been charged, who has never been arrested, who is currently being charged with murder. That is not a reflection of anything other than this individual's choices and the fact that it is way too easy for people in this community who are young to have access to firearms. And when we have a conversation about the problems that this case presents, we need to be serious and honest about what the problem is. And the problem is that too many kids have access to guns in our community. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chief Adams.
Thank you, Prosecutor Mears. As Prosecutor Mears spoke to earlier, this is a very tragic case for our community, our agency, and all the folks that do work in our community to prevent this kind of thing. I'd like to just acknowledge a few folks from IMPD that worked really hard on this case to bring it to the conclusion that we see here today. And again, as Prosecutor Mears alluded to, this is just the beginning of the process for the victim's family. So Detective Dave Miller was the lead detective in this case. He worked tirelessly with DPA Ann Frangos. Detective Miller and Frangos worked probably the last 72 hours trying to shore up the case to be presented to the prosecutor in hopes of a successful prosecution. That work happens every day with our screeners and our detectives, but this particular case, again, they worked the last 72 hours trying to shore up everything that they could in the probable cause affidavit. I'd like to recognize our Violent Crimes Unit and United States Marshal Service. They worked to apprehend the individual that was alleged of this crime, and then 24 hours later, they apprehend the downtown shooter, less than 24 hours. So again, that team does a great job of apprehending some of our city's most dangerous individuals, and I'd like to recognize them in this case as well. Our digital forensic unit and our video forensic unit work tirelessly with Detective Miller, downloading phones, looking at video, to be able to support Detective Miller in his probable cause affidavit. Our real-time crime center and our analyst worked extremely hard to provide Detective Miller the information that he needed. In these cases, Detective Miller's chasing down individuals, chasing down statements from witnesses, and he needs the support of our real-time crime center and our analysts to be able to look at that video that may be coming in, that community may be providing or businesses may be providing, to try to sift through what's important. And so I would like to acknowledge them. And then our victim assistance unit, who provided support to the family. I talked to the family last night. Prosecutor Mears also talked to the family. And, again, just a tragedy, and the amount of grief that they are feeling right now. I also was there when the alleged suspect was brought in and talked to Detective Miller. Certainly tragedy there as well. Lastly, I'd just like to acknowledge that sometimes in events like this, a community, we can all be looking for answers, and certainly that is the right thing we need to be doing, as Chief Terry talked about yesterday. But I would like to encourage our community-based organizations who do the work every day. This is a setback for all of us, truly is a setback, but we have to continue to fight. And I know that those community-based organizations are out there every day doing this kind of work, and I would like to keep encouraging them to continue to do the work. We need your help, as Chief Terry talked about heading into this summer. This should be an alert for all of us that we have to do more, and we have to provide the resources to do more. And we as a police department, we as prosecutor's office, I can't speak for Prosecutor Mears, but I know he's committed to that kind of work. So community-based organizations, stay encouraged. We will get through this.
Any questions?
Anything you can say about the motive? Was this a carjacking?
So so I guess to be real specific about our language, carjacking, not a statutory crime, not a standalone crime. The allegation here is armed robbery, and the taking is of the vehicle of the car.
Prosecutor Mears talked about all the guns in the community, but people are going to say there's lots of Hoosier kids that have access to weapons that don't pick them up and certainly don't use them in the commission of a crime. You're talking about guns being the problem. What if somebody says, well, we're the parents? What would you say to that?
I would completely agree.
Any word on the timeline we can expect as it comes to the waiver hearing to adult court?
Yeah, so these waiver hearings, certainly is driven a lot by the defense and kind of what's the level of the background investigation that they're going to conduct on an individual. A lot of times they rely on expert reports and really want to do a deep dive. In the last probably 2 months, I think we've had 3 successful waiver petitions that were granted for individuals who were less than 16 years of age at the time of the offense. All of those averaged about a year. Is what it took before the court was ultimately in a position to offer a conclusion as to whether or not those individuals should be waived. So it's always dangerous to put a timeline on things, but if recent history's any indication, it would be probably around a year.
Were two other suspects involved in, or 2 other young men involved in this attempted robbery, and will they face any charge?
Well, we've only got 1 individual who's charged right here, right now. I think the important thing, as Chief Adams talked about, is this is, relatively speaking, a very new and recent investigation, and there's still a lot more that needs to be done. There's still a lot more that could be done and can be done. And so when you do an evaluation of a case like this, I think you're looking at everybody's who is involved in this process and what role did they actually play. For us, I think everybody right now, the preliminary focus was who do we believe to be the individual who's going to be charged with a knowing murder, meaning the individual who was responsible for pulling the trigger. What allegation and what person is that going to follow? And I think that was the initial step in the investigation, and now I think you're expanding beyond that.
How did the conversation with the family go?
I guess for me, I want to keep that private, but I just want to say, I'm constantly and consistently just impressed when I meet people who are going through just these unimaginable tragedies and the level of dignity and grace that they carry themselves with, and their graciousness in having conversations with us about these issues, about what the next steps are. And it really just hits home how truly special this family was when you're able to have those conversations, and they are just so incredibly gracious in their willingness to share with you. And I know, Chief, you spoke to him as well.
Where did the kid get the gun from?
I don't think at this point in time we can talk about that.
All right, so you say it's guns, but you also agree it's parental responsibility. So which does it fall along the lines of more of? Is it this kid's parents failing him, or is it his, wanting to commit a violent act with a gun? Is it the gun's fault that Mr. Scrogham is dead?
Here's the reality. Like, I don't want to get into a larger issue or a larger conversation, because the takeaway from this is not necessarily related to your question. The takeaway from this is we've just charged a 14-year-old with murder, and we have a family who is grieving and going through just unimaginable pain, and they are looking for comfort, and they are looking for justice, and that's where our energy and effort is.
Ryan, one of the questions I had for you was, when this first happened, obviously we didn't have all the facts at the time. People were saying, once again, this is Ryan Mears, a soft prosecution letting criminals, run the streets, blah, 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 blah. It turns out it was a 14-year-old. Number two, apparently a 14-year-old has sort of an evangelical background from what I've been able to gather so far. What does that say about the narrative so far in all this?
Well, for me, I mean, number one, let's wait until the facts actually come out, and let's make sure we have a real understanding of what took place before we're in a position to assign blame. I think the other thing, and thank you to all the people in the community who reached out to me to kind of share their thoughts on what's going on. But what I try to remind people is, 20 years ago I became a prosecutor because I wanted to help people, because I wanted to stand up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. And responding to that sort of stuff doesn't help me prosecute a case. It doesn't help Chief solve a case, and it doesn't bring any peace to a grieving family. It doesn't help them either. And so I try to ignore that noise and focus on why I became a prosecutor, which is to help people and solve these cases and prosecute these cases. And I found when that's where we put our energy, that's when we can produce the best results.
Sir, you were there when the 14-year-old was taken in. What can you tell us about his demeanor? What was was there anything that stuck out?
Yeah, it's not about him, and as Prosecutor Mears said, I'm not going to get into that. I mean, I think that's investigative. I can just tell you it was sad.
Kayla, what does it say about downtown safety in the greater picture?
Chief, you want to address that?
I don't know that this individual incident is an overall reflection of downtown safety. Certainly a tragic incident, but we as a law enforcement agency, we as a community, it certainly brings out the fact that we have to continue to work together to make sure that all parts of our city remain a good and safe place to live. It's going to take all of us. It's not going to be one entity. It's going to be all of us working together. I know there's a lot of interest in downtown. The businesses are really focused on doing what they can do, but we've all got to work together.
And I'll just add to that. Downtown remains safe. I was just down there with my family 2 weeks ago. And while this is tragic, we have plenty of resources down there. We have cameras, we have officers that are working proactively, we have community members that are out there on the weekends trying to help us with the juvenile issue. But by and large, downtown remains safe and in a vibrant community that we work really hard to create safety. But I know for a fact that Chief Terry was down there, her kids go down there, my family was down there for Victory, at Victory Field the other day for the Bananas game. So again, we all visit downtown, and this should not be a reflection of downtown.
To that point, it's my understanding only 3 of this year's homicides even happened downtown.
Correct.
Do these narratives coming out, do they make your job harder in any way?
Well, certainly, I think Prosecutor Mears talked about it. We have a great partnership with the prosecutor's office. Our job is to, locate, apprehend, and hold accountable those that do these crimes. And we will remain steadfast on that. We work with downtown community in terms of public safety, downtown Indy. Many of the groups down there, we work tirelessly. So it doesn't make our job harder. It's certainly something we don't want to do. We have shootings in communities, unfortunately, a lot, right? And we go out and we investigate those. And community coming forward was critical in this case. just like it has been in other cases. So in terms of making it harder, I don't know that it makes it harder. It's something we don't want to do. It's something I think Prosecutor Mears doesn't want to do, but we will in cases like this.
Chief Terry talked about the 4 homicides that you've charged teenagers with in Indianapolis so far this year. You've talked about community organizations having to keep up the fight. What fight are you talking about? What can they do better that maybe parents aren't doing with these kids that you know, they're being sentenced to prison for this stuff?
Well, you know, listen, I talk to community-based organizations a lot, right? And they're in the prevention space. They're working with kids that don't have family structure that you mentioned, right? When you talk about parents, what does that mean? And so they work in those spaces that you and I typically can't go. And they work every day trying to work with those kids. And it's an ongoing fight, right? They're fighting for these kids and trying to save them as well as the streets are fighting for them. So it's a push and pull. And I will continue to support them. But in terms of what they do mentorship. We talk about it all the time. Mentorship means something. But they have to know that you care. Mentorship doesn't mean 8 to 5. It means going out at 3 a.m. when a kid calls you and says, I'm in trouble. And that's what these groups are doing.
Ryan, Sufinka, Mayor Carmel, Mayor Hogshead announced today they're putting together like a sort of a regional crime type summit. There were no prosecutors on the list, neither you nor Hamilton or Hendricks. Have you got any word or invitation or will you be involved in?
I mean, here's the reality. We do this every day. Like we have the crime gun task force. We have the Metro Drug Task Force. Every single day we're working with law enforcement agencies to prosecute these crimes. Just this past week, we highlighted the work of CJIC, which is a collaboration between Hamilton County, Marion County, Hendricks County, Boone County, on a case where an individual was in Hamilton County. They were released on bond. Then they picked up a case in Marion County. We were able to get a 28-year sentence, and we were able to get that because there's excellent police work done by all of those agencies. So we're having these conversations every single day. We're working with these agencies every single day to identify the individuals who are causing harm, whether it's in Indianapolis or Carmel or Zionsville. It doesn't matter. Everybody has the same goal, and everybody's working in the same direction. And so these things are taking place right now. I guess my invitation to the mayor would be, why don't you come to the CJIC meeting? Why don't you come to the Metro Drug Task Force meeting and see what work's actually being done?
Do you believe criminals or people that commit crimes are thinking about, well, I don't want to commit a crime here, but I will commit a crime there? Do you believe people are intentionally leaving this county to go commit crimes in other counties?
I'm not sure I understand your
Carmel
question.
Mayor's insinuation was that the crimes that you prosecuted, you know, maybe they're not going to get a heavy sentence. So do you believe that they're choosing their counties where they're committing their crimes?
I mean, clearly the individual we prosecuted this week chose to commit a crime in Hamilton County. He got released on bond in Marion County, sentenced him to 28 years. So it sounds like he made a number of poor choices.
Last question. I did have back to the 15-year-old. I mean, the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute, their numbers show that more younger teens are facing adult charges. Does that complicate the system for you when you are dealing more with juveniles that are in between that limbo?
I think one of the challenges that you have, especially when you're dealing with a crime of this seriousness, is that the juvenile system is really difficult to get a just outcome when you consider the timeline and the horizon and how long the juvenile court has jurisdiction over someone who is this age. And so I think that's why you're seeing more of these cases being waived up, because there's a recognition that if it's not waived up, that the court's going to lose jurisdiction over this person very quickly. And as I mentioned before, the last 3 waivers have been granted where we've seen individuals waived to adult court on murder charges. And I think it's in recognition of the fact that that horizon and timeline in juvenile court is very limited.